So Dana White just announced that Bobby Green versus Dan Hooker is going to be a 5 round co-main event, and the main event will be Arman Tazoukian versus Benil Dariush. I like this. This is cool. We've had 5 round co-main events on pay-per-views, but for this to be on a fight night, it's actually pretty cool. I'm glad that they did this. That card is fucking absolutely stacked, by the way. Before I get into shit, before I get into the fight, sorry, which my potty mouth. There's Wellington Turman versus Jared Gooden. Wait, I'll get to the stacked ones. Rodolfo Bellato, Ion Vittoria just got announced. Steve Garcia versus Costa. Drakkar Klose versus Joe Selecki. Zachary Reese versus Cobra. And then getting onto the stacked fights. Khalil Roundtree, Azamat Mirzakhanov. Sean Brady versus Kelvin Gastelum. Rob Font versus Davison Figueiredo. Dan Hooker versus Bobby Green. Benil Dariush versus Arman Tazoukian. And then there's also like Clay Guida versus Joaquim Silva, a bunch of fights on there. Really good card. I'm really excited for it. But I just wanted to talk about Bobby Green versus Dan Hooker as a 5 round main event, co-main event. That's pretty cool. With that being the case, man, you know, Bobby Green has a solid chance here. Dan Hooker, very good fighter, don't get me wrong. But one thing that we have seen in Dan Hooker's game is that his cardio isn't the greatest part of his asset. We've seen him slow down quite a lot, especially in like 5 rounders. We've seen him slow. Obviously, he fights at a high, crazy pace, so it makes sense. But honestly, Bobby Green's never really slowed. He's always showed to have really good cardio. I think Bobby Green is like a live dog in this fight. I would imagine he's going to be an underdog here. Yeah, I generally in a 5 rounder, man. I think Bobby Green's got a really solid chance here. I think a lot of people are going to just be on Dan Hooker. He did beat Jarlin Turner, very good fighter, really good prospect in the lightweight division. But yeah, I'm not counting Bobby Green out here, man. I might actually take him in this fight. I'm going to have to watch a bit of tape before I make a genuine prediction. But Bobby Green's looked solid in these fights. Went out there and fucking slept Grant Dawson his last fight. Just fucking ran through Grant Dawson, who was meant to be the next big thing with his grappling threat and everything. We see Bobby Green also beat Tony Ferguson, subbed him. First sub in years. Uh, you know, Bobby Green also had a very competitive fight with Rafael Fiziev. Like that, a lot of people thought he might have won that. So this fight is actually very interesting. Also, Dan Hooker back on the rise, beats Claudio Palaues, and then yeah, like I mentioned previously, he beat Jarlin Turner. So really, like he's really on like the comeback trail. Dan Hooker is, which it's really cool to see. I thought Dan Hooker was like nearing the end, but that Jarlin Turner fight, nobody I've seen predicted him to win that. So that was a solid performance there. Almost got Jarlin Turner out of there a few times, almost KO'd him. So, like I said, very impressive performance there. But this five rounds, man, really, like I could just see Dan Hooker doing really well in the early rounds, mixing up his leg kicks, fighting really smart. But then I can just see Bobby Green fucking like just breaking him or just going on like a fucking breaking significant strike records against Dan Hooker in the later rounds. Just jab, 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 jab. Like we all know how Bobby Green fights. Jab, 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 jab. But talks a little bit, jab, jab, jab. Dan Hooker throws a kick, it misses. Bobby Green comes in, jab, jab, jab. That's just how he fights. That's how I see that fight going in the way in the later rounds for Bobby Green in this fight. But I will have to watch a bit of tape. I don't know if Bobby Green has gone uh, 5 rounds before previously, but if we have seen that he hasn't really slowed down in any fights, and he's like even against Nasser at Haqparast, he like broke the lightweight significant strike record, went so hard in that fight and didn't slow down at all. So honestly, we could maybe see something like that in this fight. But obviously, I think early Dan Hooker is very dangerous for Bobby Green. Bobby Green's not like chinny or anything. He did get slept by Drew Dober, but you know, Dan Hooker, powerful guy, not as powerful as Drew Dober, but arguably a better striker in my opinion. But very hittable. Like, I don't know. The more I'm talking this, the more I'm thinking I'm gonna go with Bobby Green, to be honest. But I'm gonna have to watch some tape. I think this fight should be really fun. I feel like if Dan Hooker goes how he does against Nasrat Haqparast when he was wrestling, I actually think that would be to the desperate of him. I think that'd actually be worse for him if he did what he did against Nasrat Haqparast. We've seen in the past that if he's gonna wrestle, go in there and grapple heavy like he did against Nasrat. Bobby Green does have really solid takedown defense. People are going to say he doesn't have solid takedown defense because he did go out there, got beat on the ground by Islam Makhachev. People always will say stuff like that. Like Islam Makhachev, one of the best fucking grapplers in the UFC. Like, of course, Bobby Green on short notice isn't going to be stuffing the takedowns from him. But, like, outside of that, he's showing really good takedown defense. He's not, like, getting destroyed on the ground all the time. I think like I said, if Dan Hooker goes in there and tries a wrestling heavy game plan, he's going to gas out quicker and he's actually going to get beat real badly, in my opinion. He has to have a striking game plan here. I know logic would say, Dan Hooker should just go in there and wrestle, but like I say, Bobby Green, solid takedown defense. If he does do that, he is going to fucking gas out, and then Bobby Green, with his cardio pressure style, is just going to box him up if he does that. Like I say, his best game plan here is to actually just full on try and knock out Bobby Green, in my opinion. That's like his best game plan. But I don't know. We'll see, man. I could see Dan Hooker maybe getting an early KO or something, but just I don't know. Logically, I just see Bobby Green putting it on him. I don't know if there'll be a finish. Dan Hooker is very durable, very tough, especially at lightweight. People use that Arnold Allen finish against him. Like people will say, Arnold Allen finished him, but when you think about it, he's never properly been finished at lightweight. Obviously, I guess Edson Barboza did, but like that was after an accumulative damage. Actually, no, he has been finished a few times at lightweight now that I'm thinking about it. But he's still shown to be very durable. Michael Chandler hits like a fucking truck. Bobby Green's not Michael Chandler level of power, in my opinion. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. Bobby Green obviously got some pop in his shots, but he's more of a volume striker in there. I do think that, I just think that if this fight, how this fight's going to go is if there's a finish, it'll be a Dan Hooker finish. I know people maybe will use a bit of recency bias and say, well, Bobby Green slept Grant Dawson, but I just don't think Grant Dawson has the greatest chin. He's a good fighter, obviously. I still think Grant Dawson's really, really good fighter. He'll probably make a comeback eventually. With that grappling heavy style, he'll succeed quite a bit, but not the most durable guy. His loss before that did get KO'd, also got dropped by Mark Madsen. So, like I say, he's not the most durable guy in the world. That's not a crazy thing to say. He's just not. But he's very, very solid fighter, good grappler, but Bobby Green, I don't think this is a sign that Bobby Green has like the biggest power in the UFC or anything like that. Nobody's saying that. I just don't think Bobby Green. People are gonna probably act like Bobby Green's like fucking Francis Ngannou now. I just don't think that's the case. He's more of a volume striker. He can sleep people obviously if he puts a beating on them, but I think this could look very similar to maybe the Drew Dober fight, where Bobby Green just gonna tap at him, get lots of shots off him. Except I think it's going to be similar, except we're not going to see a KO from Drew Dober or, Dan Hooker in this example. I think it's going to look very similar to that fight, though. I just think Bobby Green's probably going to put it on him. Maybe Dan Hooker can have more of success because he throws a lot more leg kicks. Maybe, he can just rough up the leg of Bobby Green. But, this isn't my official prediction, but this is just my early prediction. But I am going to say I think Bobby Green's going to get this one done by decision. Hopefully this, hopefully this isn't like some cardinal sin because I'm a Anzac, because I'm picking against an Anzac. But I generally think Bobby Green might take this one. But I guess we'll see what happens. This could be the start of fucking Bobby Green's like Jorge Gamebred Masvidal type fucking run, like 2019 run. Already beat Grant Dawson, who he wasn't expected to defeat. Then if he goes and beats Dan Hooker, then who knows? He might go on a run. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in this fight. It should be a real fun one. This card's fucking so fun, man. Dariush versus Tazoukian is also very interesting. 5-rounder. You know, with how good Beneil Dariush's takedown defense is, I could honestly see Beneil Dariush getting this one done, especially with 5 rounds. I know we haven't seen him go 5 rounds, but you know, if you're stuffing someone's takedowns like Arma Tazoukian's, he's going to slow. And I actually think Dariush might be the better striker. So, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens here. But, yeah, that's all I've got to say about the Dan Hooker versus Bobby Green going as a 5 round co-main event. I really do like it, though. Really sick from the UFC to do this. That whoever got tickets to that Austin card, you fucking lucky bastard, because that is going to be such a good card. But anyway, that's all I've got to say. If you made it this far into the video, make sure you give it a like, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.